Has your life taken a turn? Do troubles beset you? Has fortune left you behind? If so, the Sierra Madre Casino, in all its glory, is inviting you to begin again. Come to a place where wealth, excitement, and intrigue await around every corner. Stroll along the winding streets of our beautiful resort. Make new friends, or rekindle old flames. Let your eyes take in the luxurious expanse of the open desert under clear, starlit skies. Gaze straight on into the sunset from our villa rooftops. Countless diversions await. Gamble in our casino, take in the theater, or stay in one of our exclusive executive suites that will shelter you and cater to your every whim. So if life's worries have weighed you down, if you need an escape from your troubles, or if you just need an opportunity to begin again, join us. Let go and leave the world behind at the Sierra Madre grand opening this October. We'll be waiting.
Hello everybody, it's Ace, and welcome to my first installment of the Honest Review series. I don't want to take up any more time in this introduction to explain the premise of the series, as we have a very interesting topic to cover today. However, if you are interested on how this series works, I will put a link to a video in the description explaining it in more depth. Today's review will be over a piece of downloadable content within one of my favorite video games of all time, Fallout New Vegas. As you've seen from the intro, we will be covering the first of 5 DLCs from Fallout New Vegas. What a better way to start off this collection of prolific and highly regarded DLCs than to begin again with Dead Money. So just to clarify before we start, the footage and gameplay you see was from a playthrough where I had a mod, A Tale of Two Wastelands installed, which pretty much just combines Fallout 3 and New Vegas into one cohesive game. I did do a good amount of content before starting this DLC in Fallout 3 over at the Capital Wasteland, before I even came over to New Vegas, as well as doing a lot of stuff within New Vegas before I started the DLC, so if you see any inconsistencies with my perks and other things, that is more than likely the reason why. Dead Money is an interesting addition to Fallout New Vegas, as it's pretty much a complete 180 on how you've been probably playing this game up until this point. Before coming across Dead Money, you could probably make do with your massive fat man blowing nukes into the toilet bowl of what the game calls the Mojave Wasteland. Or you've probably turned yourself into a gun-slinging desperado who blows the tops off of any NPC who tries to put you in their place. However, in Dead Money, the DLC strips you back and you're basically left with nothing, as you get kidnapped and enslaved by a former Brotherhood of Steel member and leader to help him open the long-lost Sierra Madre Casino. If you've ever played New Vegas, you might be familiar with the cycle of starting a new playthrough. You have the intro cutscene, you have character creation.
How'd I do?
You raid Doc Mitchell's house. Oh, hi Good Springs. And notification bombardment. Sweet. The notification message for Dead Money pops up first, and after about 20 hours of ignoring the DLC of the game, I felt it was about time to tackle head-on the mystery of the Sierra Madre Casino. Notification gave me a quest, and it told me to make my way over to an abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker. As I traversed the barren and empty wasteland on a Tuesday night, I finally came across the bunker and listened to the mysterious signal that has been in my Pip-Boy since I took my first breath of Mojave air. I went on inside this bunker, I looted the corpse next to the staircase, which in itself is a terrible sign that should have set me farther away from the broadcast origin point, but we're the courier. Nothing bad can happen to us, right? As long as we have our big guns and big power armor sets and big, I'm totally not overcompensating. We'll be fine, right?
We'll be waiting. Has your life taken a turn? If so, the Sierra Madre Casino.
Alright, maybe not. As you sit through the intro cutscene, the game basically gives you a rundown of the backstory of the Sierra Madre. Basically, the game paints the story of this Sierra Madre as a myth or a legend. This casino was built pre-war, and it was operated primarily by a man named Frederick Sinclair. The casino was advertised as a safe place for when the bombs dropped. This place had state-of-the-art technology, primarily the holograms, that could do human functions like operate a casino and sell stuff and shoot people. You know, it sounds simple, but these things were ahead of their time. Sierra Madre never opened, though, as the war froze this place in time. It's up to us to uncover what happened to the casino, right? Well, technically yes, but the game really hits you with an interesting quote, which acts as a basis for a lot of the themes related to this DLC. The hardest part is not getting to it referring to the casino itself, but letting go. As we delve deeper into the DLC, I will point out these themes as they are very intriguing once you spot them. Now, I don't want to spoon feed you everything in every aspect of this DLC, but I'll mention a lot of the lore and things that enlightened and delighted me, or just piqued my interest. As soon as you wake up, you see a fountain in front of you, with a hologram of a man named Father Elijah. Now, if you've played Fallout New Vegas before, this name might sound familiar. Yes, this is the same Father Elijah who was the leader of the Brotherhood of Steel during the New California Republic's attack on Helios 1. Father Elijah disappeared after that attack and wasn't to be seen again. Until now. Elijah basically states that you're his slave and you will do whatever he says. And you should, because he placed an explosive collar around your neck. This conversation with Elijah is pretty long, as he basically tells you everything you need to know to currently survive the villa area of the Sierra Madre. He lets us know about enemies named Ghost, who are humans who have been trapped in a hazmat suit for a long time and have suffered effects of the Cloud. The only way these ghosts can be killed is if you dismember one of their body parts, or just take off their head, which is what I did a majority of this playthrough. When Elijah says the Cloud, he's referring to the poison gas around the villa that consumes the air of the Madre. If you step inside of it, you take damage over time. That's basically all it is, it's just the poison gas. Elijah also gave you a new toy. It's a weapon called the Hollow Rifle, and my god, does this thing pack a punch. Apparently Elijah crafted this weapon himself, and oh my, this thing is fun to use. The scope is awesome and is fluid to use against the ghost enemies, as aiming down your sights to prioritize squashing their heads is crucial in taking these guys out. Speaking of squashing and heads, you better be on the lookout for radios, as certain frequencies of these radios can cause your collar to fucking explode when around them for too long. You know, this mechanic was really cool at first, as it required me to scope out my area first, before attempting to advance in case a radio was hiding somewhere. However, as you get near the end of the DLC, this feature just becomes a nuisance. Still, it's a feature of this collar that is important to mention since, you know, your lifespan is tied to this hunk of metal. Elijah then tells us why he kidnapped us in the first place. He needs a group of people to help him break into the Sierra Madre Casino, a whole heist. For our first mission, Elijah sends us out to recruit 3 people who are also slaves of his. A super mutant, a pre-war celebrity, and a mute. At least, that's all I'll say about these 3 for now. Let's go ahead and get rolling. Like any sane person would, in this situation, I head straight for the exit, but Elijah slaps me on my wrist and tells me no. In the fountain, I picked up a good amount of this DLC's currency, as well as a card part of the Dead Man's Hand, which is a challenge associated with the DLC. These Sierra Madre chips can be spent at Sierra Madre vending machines, and I barely use these vending machines other than to either buy stim packs or to buy certain weapon upgrades after finding the holotapes for them. Speaking of the holotapes, as you explore the Sierra Madre, you can find these tapes all over the place that unlock something new to buy in these vending machines. You can also return certain items to the machines in order to get some chips to spend. And don't throw away these chips after you beat the DLC, as there's a lone vending machine in the abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker that you can use after to buy items from, which I thought was a cool touch since you can't really come back to the Madre after you beat the DLC. One thing this DLC made me do was feel weak. After so long of blazing through enemies and radiated beasts with my Ripper, or plowing through raiders and fiends with my automatic plasma caster, I for once felt terrified. I scrounged and picked up everything in sight like a little pack rat, which is something I never thought I would have done in this playthrough, but this DLC had me shivering my timbers. Anyways, for our first quest, we need to look for caller number 8, Dog, at the police station. I fought my first ghost on the way to the police station with a knife spear, one of the many rustic and cool weapons of this DLC. I found a hologram terminal that I still have no clue to this day what it was supposed to do, but hey, here's that. After exploring a little bit, I made my way inside the police station. Elijah reminds us of the frequencies that the radios emit that can blow up our noggin, so we ruin everyone's jam session and we shut those things down. In this cell is a super mutant named Dog. This is who we need to recruit. We went ahead and looted the contraband room, picked up some vending machine codes, and went down into the basement. We hear the super mutant speaking to us, and inside the basement, we can find a holotape that helps us communicate with this super mutant. This mutant has 2 personalities, and we're going to use one of them to get him out of his cage. Dog God is a pretty cool character, and he's probably my favorite out of the 3 we recruit. One cool thing about Dog God is that you can switch his persona anytime if you play the right command tape. And I didn't do this once while playing through the DLC, but I learned you could do it after. We manipulate Dog to get out of the cage and follow us. as he will be our main companion for the first section of the DLC. Basically, Dog's perk is that when a ghost is unconscious and we haven't ripped off a limb of it, Dog will devour and dismember the ghost, killing it instantly. We also have the Wild Wasteland perk, so Dog makes Cookie Monster noises when devouring on his first ghost of the night.
Om nom nom.
Next, we need to recruit the pre-war celebrity named Dean Domino, who's a real piece of shit, and we realize that as we get further through the DLC. Throughout the villa area, you can find suitcases and handprints right next to them. These are Dean's secret stashes. There are 15 of them total around the villa area, and are related to a challenge that the DLC adds. I spent my time using a walkthrough to find all of them, as they are pretty hidden in some locations. You can get some really good loot from these stashes, so I highly suggest searching for them. Anyways, Dean can be found in the residential district. The residential district introduces the cloud in more detail, as it's a prominent hazard throughout the DLC. There are also a plethora of death traps. There are bear traps, explosives, jury-rigged shotguns, and more. It's important to be on the lookout for these and attempt to disarm them, as they can really take you by surprise if you are fighting a ghost and accidentally come across a trap, throwing you off in the process. One cool bit of lore I found out while doing some research is that the hazmat suits the ghosts are wearing were made by the scientists of Big MT. Big MT also accidentally released the cloud upon the Sierra Madre. These suits were supposed to protect the workers from the hazardous cloud. However, the cloud rusted the suits the workers were in, forever containing them within the suits. The cloud caused the workers to mold into the suit. Their flesh and bones became the suit. It's fucking terrifying. As you make your way through the DLC, you may come across the Bear Trap Fist, which is one of the coolest looking melee weapons in the game, in my opinion, of course. This thing is pretty fun to use. If you told me I could have used a Bear Trap and a Power Fist combined as a weapon near the start of my playthrough, I would have ran straight to the DLC. Once you progress through the death traps and goes to the residential district, you come across the man himself, Dean Domino. On loading screens from the main game, you can see his poster plastered on the wall. This was a very famous man. Now, he's just a ghoul, a slave to Father Elijah, like you are. He asks you to sit down and attempts to make you believe you just sat down on a bomb. Passing this speech check apparently changes the Dean Domino ending, but I didn't know until it was too late. One important thing that Father Elijah told us before going out to recruit the 3 people is that all of our callers are linked. And if we kill, let's say, Dean, or he kills us, all of our callers will explode, leaving us all dead. So, we use that to our advantage when talking to Dean. Dean Domino is probably the most interesting character of the 3, as he's a mischievous little brat with the most history relating to the casino itself, as he was here before the bombs even dropped. After convincing him to go to the fountain, we make our way out of the residential district, and back to the fountain where we caught some funny dialogue between Dean and Dog.
Where the hell did you get this one?
So hungry.
Dog? What, so you don't forget your name?
I don't remember you. Who are you?
A little slow, huh? Dean. Dean Domino. I live here.
You look like food. Smell like food. Dog. Hungry.
All right, pal. You stay in your corner, I'll stay in mine. Do not leave me alone with this thing.
In order to find Christine, our third and last slave to recruit, we must make way to the medical district. Elijah lets us know about the comm system and how the speakers emit a frequency that can blow our heads off just like the radios can. To take out these speakers, we must shoot them. Scavenging and looting everything in sight seem to finally make a payoff. After collecting 500 Sierra Madre chips, you get the Sierra Madre Aficionado achievement. That's 1 out of 5 achievements Dead Money offers. There's definitely a much easier way to get this achievement, but I'll show you guys that later. Anyways, we make our way through the medical district and head inside the Villa Clinic. This is where we are introduced to the Sierra Madre's holograms. But before I talk about them in more detail, don't forget to grab the vending machine code for stim packs or you are cooked. Now, these holograms are made by Big MT as well, and they endlessly roam wherever they are stationed at, attacking everything and anything in sight. These holograms can't take damage, so avoiding being seen by them is the only way to slither past them. The introduction to the holograms is a solid one. The game gives you a terminal, showing you that you can route the holograms to wherever you please, helping you avoid them if you want to loot or explore a specific area in a building. As the DLC progresses, the use of holograms starts to feel a bit lackluster and annoying, but we'll get to that when we do. That seems to be a common theme with this DLC. The features it introduces at first are all unique and intriguing, and they forced me to take on situations differently than I may have before. But as I got further into the DLC, I was just ready to leave this place, and I was just over the mechanics of it. I'll touch on that aspect more in the review part at the end of this video, but let's keep going. I made sure the holograms were set to the second floor so I can explore a bit more. In the clinic, you can find the assassin suit, one of the coolest looking pieces of armor from this DLC. This suit was owned by Christine, who we'll be face to face with here shortly. The shielded speakers make an appearance with their stupid red light and stupid beeping noises. Screw these things. Unlike the blue speakers, you cannot shoot these ones. In order to turn them off, you have to find a specific terminal that allows you to turn them off, which we can find in the basement of the clinic. We then go back upstairs and come face to face with Christine herself inside of this auto dock. You know, Christine is cool, but she's no doubt the weakest of the 3 recruits. It's a cool idea to have a mute character, but the New Vegas engine can only do so much when it comes to a character like this. Christine just stares blankly at you for every conversation you have with her. It's not like I expected Christine to throw up gang signs and shit when she's attempting to talk to you, but more animations for her relating to what the dialogue says she's doing would have been such a nice touch. Still, she's an interesting character, I guess, who plays a somewhat important role in the New Vegas DLC overarching story, so I'll give her credit where she's due. Anyways, we convince Christine to head back to the fountain. After finishing our conversation with her, we get the Assemble Your Crew achievement. That's 2 out of 5 achievements obtained for dead money. A new quest pops up named Fire in the Sky, directing us to head back to the fountain to speak to Father Elijah. Before doing so, I ran around the clinic and came across the hologram emitter. This is basically the power source for the holograms. You can either use your repair skill to disable them, which right now it says 25, but the skill requirement increases as you dive deeper into the DLC. Or you could just shoot them, the latter being the better and easier option for most. Before we head back to the fountain, I went to the police station to grab a card from the dead man's hand I missed. I also grabbed some very, very important explosives we will for sure be using at the end of the DLC. I also spent a good amount of time searching for Dean's stashes and vending machine codes, so if you see my inventory with a bunch of random loot, that's probably where it came from. Also, my game crashed. A lot. Like a lot for this DLC. It wouldn't be a New Vegas video without mentioning that. We head back to the fountain and steal Dean Domino's suit and publicly shame him in front of his peers. We also talk to Christine a little bit more, and she teaches us how to make the Sierra Madre chips on a workbench. We talk to Father Elijah, and the old cute now wants us to take our recruits to their specified stations to prepare the Sierra Madre Gala Event, which should open the casino. We start with Dog God, and despite what he wants, we still need to take him to Salida del Sol. We have officially entered part 2 of the Dead Money DLC. I'll separate the DLC into 3 parts, or acts, as that's the number of waves of quest that is given to you by Elijah. Talking to Dog is always an interesting time.
Lieutenant? Long ago. Smart.
Anyways, we head over to Salida del Sol. This is where Dead Money is at its best, as it takes everything you've been taught and informed up on until this point and healthily mixes it all to make an ultimate challenge. Salida del Sol features ghost enemies, navigation through rooftops, the cloud, speakers that can blow your top off, and a healthy amount of traps. Healthy being used loosely. I had a good amount of enjoyment going through this place. Enjoyment is probably not the word for it, but still. One thing about the ghosts that is prevalent in part 2 of the DLC is their use of gas bombs. These bombs are terrifying, and if you see a ghost about to chuck one at you, expect it to be at the speed of an MLB pitcher. It's near impossible to dodge these once they're thrown at you. So this makes the ghost a huge ranged threat now, rather than just a melee threat. The ghost enemies are balanced, even in large groups I found. You primarily fight them 2v1, especially since you have a recruit, but in certain situations they can swarm you, but it doesn't feel too overwhelming. Just scary. As we navigate through Salida del Sol, we scrounge through Dean's stashes to secure more goodies, and come across the door to an abandoned house. This house leads us to Salida del Sol North. We ran through this location and discovered Campañas del Sol, a location we'll be at later when we're about to start the Gala Event. The main reason why we came here was to find the Sierra Madre snow globe next to one of Dean's stashes. This snow globe, when picked up, straight up gives you 2,000 Sierra Madre chips, which is insane. This will easily complete the Sierra Madre aficionado achievement if you haven't gotten it yet, and it'll also give you a steady supply of these chips for the rest of the playthrough. We end up finding the last of Dean Domino's stashes, but sadly there's no achievement tied to it, just an in-game challenge. We finally take Dog to his position, and he throws a little fit about it. On the floor here, we can find a vending machine code for a weapon modification for the Bear Trap Fist, which we will definitely take. Now, in order to progress the quest, we must bring God out. That sentence sounds crazy to say out loud. We use the Dog command tape, convince God to operate these switches for the Gala event using my high intelligence, and complete the Fires in the Sky quest. We head back to the fountain, and now we need to get Dean Domino to his place, and boy is he arrogant about it. Anyways, we talk to Dean in further detail. By doing this painstaking task, you learn that he knows how to make Sierra Madre martinis, a pretty important healing item I've used a good amount in this DLC. He teaches you how to make them yourself, giving you a perk in the process. On we go to Puesta del Sol. Puesta del Sol is structurally similar to the other locations, but the lighting gives off a piss yellow vibe that makes it uncomfortable to be in for longer than 2 minutes. Wild Wasteland comes in swinging with an Army of Darkness quote out of all things.
It's a trick. Get an axe.
We answer the cries screeching out from these lifeless suits by squishing their brains with my bear trap fist, and get an earful of snarky comments from Dean himself. I navigated the tattered rooftops of Puesta del Sol, suffocated myself in the lovely red mist of the cloud, thought Dean Domino turned on me, but in reality he was committing overkill on a radroach, almost became the victim of an assassination, and come across the switching station, which is where we'll bring Christine later. We make our way to Puesta del Sol South, which is where we need to put Dean in his position. We run through a deteriorating cafe, activate a friendly hologram we'll need to activate later, and finally arrive to Dean's Gala area. Shocker, Dean complains about the safety of this area, and in order for him to stay here, we must activate 2 friendly holograms for him to feel safe. Well, Dean, I haven't been feeling safe this whole DLC, but I haven't been asking for much. We activate the last hologram and let Dean know that he's safe. Next, he asks us to tuck him in, read him a bedtime story, and put a warm glass of milk next to his nightstand. Screw this guy. Also important to note, we missed a vending machine code for a holo rifle modification here. I'll be back later to pick it up. On our way back, we climb atop a tower and pick up the vending machine code for the advanced calibration weapon mod for the holo rifle. When we apply this mod to the holo rifle, we get a decreased spread when we shoot it. Now, we just need to get Christine to her position. I went back to the fountain, managed to get her smile despite the grueling and torturous position we're both in, and headed back to Puesta del Sol. We went straight to the pumping station we discovered earlier, which was easier this time around since no ghosts were here to bother us. We head inside the switching station, and I used my high repair skill to jury-rig an electrical box. We navigated our way through the dangerously speaker-infected switching station. There's not really much to this place other than the cloud and a terminal to turn the speakers off. We deactivated the ventilation system, which helped clear up the cloud in the switching station. We picked up a key that I had no idea where to use it at, but we'll figure that out later. We hack some terminals, get stuck for a bit, and eventually figure out that this key is used on this random locker over here to find a terminal password. This will now allow us to set up the terminal for Christine, who was for some reason not following me and was found at the bottom of the station staring blankly into a wall. We guide her to her position and get notified that Christine doesn't like elevators. Good thing we don't have to send her down there, as we found the way for her to bypass from this terminal in this room. Sending Christine on the elevator apparently alters her ending, which apparently gives you the bad ending with her, so I decided this is probably the right thing to do. We embrace each other by holding hands like love-drunk middle schoolers strutting in the hallways, despite the fact that our little crush won't mean a damn thing because Christine likes girls, which is something we learn later. Elijah chimes in as soon as we exit Christine's dialogue and mentions a bell tower, which is where we will officially launch the Gala Event. This Gala Event will open up the Sierra Madre, once and for all. Traversing the Sierra Madre almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
Brother, this guy stinks!
We end up at the bell tower in Salida del Sol North, where many red blips appear on our compass, but no enemies in sight for some reason. Are they hiding? Are they using stealth boys? No. They're all visible in a single room leading to the ladder to the bell tower. Fun. However, for some reason, as soon as I got onto the balcony, more ghosts appeared on the ground I was literally just on, so I used the holo rifle to make quick work of them. We find the ladder to take us up to the tippy top of the bell tower, which also leads us to 2 great vending machine codes. One for super stim packs, and one for another holo rifle modification, focusing lens. Using the Gala Event control panel, we link up with Elijah and the other 3 to let them know we are ready for the Gala Event. We give them the signal and experience the fireworks in the sky, signifying the Sierra Madre has opened. We get the achievement Having a Ball, which leads us to having 3 out of 5 of the achievements from Dead Money. With the casino unlocked, we must bum rush our way past the plethora of ghost enemies that we attracted due to the loud noises and pretty lights. We somehow make it back to the fountain in one piece, and prepare to enter the casino. Before I entered the casino, I decided to finish exploring and collecting everything I needed and wanted outside the casino first. I went back to the switching station to pick up a vending machine code for a holo rifle mod I missed, Reinforced Components. We then went back to Dean Domino's position for the Gala Event to find a code for an automatic rifle weapon mod, Upgraded Internals. Yeah, it's hiding in plain sight. With that weapon mod code being all I needed from outside the casino, it's time to head on in. As soon as we enter, we're knocked out by some loopy gas, but not before we catch a glimpse of the 3 recruits who also found their way inside of the casino. Grandpa Elijah comes in and starts yapping to us. He makes note that the casino itself will either help us or kill us, most likely referring to the holograms inside of the casino. They are a pretty dangerous hazard inside the Madre. It's pretty damn and bland here currently, and Elijah tells us he had the same opinion. First, we must wake up the casino. We can do this by entering through the casino doors here. Elijah starts yapping again, but it seems like for some odd reason, he switched out his mic with a garbage disposal.
Now, look for a way to wake this ghost up.
Here, I attempted to use this terminal to reroute the holograms, but I found it to be useless and just ran through this section. That'll be a common occurrence for the rest of the DLC. These holograms pack an absolute punch, so don't do what I did when it comes to them. In order to awake the Sierra Madre, we must find a terminal to this electrical closet here, which took me way longer to find than I would like to admit. I found a cool helmet, as well as a key that unlocks a shortcut back to the lobby. Right here I accidentally died because I used an auto dock at the worst possible time. Finally, I found a terminal to unlock the closet, and turned on the power to the Madre. Luckily, this deactivated the holograms inside the casino, and the casino now is fully functional. You can gamble here and earn pre-war money if you turn in your Madre chips, which is ultimately useless. There may be some application to having pre-war money, but keeping the chips seems more important to me. Old cute Elijah lets us know our teammates and their collars are interfering with the sound systems of the Madre. He tells us we need to either take care of their collars or just flat out eliminate the 3 recruits. It sounds crazy to do that right now, but Elijah reassures us we won't die if we kill them, as the collars don't work inside the Madre between floors. So if we were to kill, let's say, Dean Domino, because I hate this guy, we'll have to run out of the room back to the lobby in order for our collar to not explode. First, we'll need to take care of Dog God inside the Cantina Madrid, the restaurant of the Madre. It's not reassuring. The first thing you hear when you enter the Madrid is Dog saying, "I'm going to make this casino burn." We can't encounter Dog God through this entrance of the Madrid, but if we pick up this key here, we can use the door inside of the casino to enter the kitchen area. As soon as we enter, we notice gas waves right across our face. Also, side note, we found another card of the dead man's hand right next to this terminal here. This part's interesting, as if we are spotted by Dog without turning off all of the gas valves, he'll light a fire and kill himself and us in the process. It's another nice use of sneak that this mod seems to offer. However, if you just run up to Dog and initiate conversation, this act of arson will not occur. I like how this DLC gives you alternate options when you don't have a high enough skill. When we talk to Dog, Dog tells us he's tired of the voice inside of him, that voice being God, and the 2 personalities are attempting to take the light all throughout this conversation. It's really interesting writing, and I wish I didn't skip most of it like I did here, but I was on a time crunch. We can do some convincing, and make Dog believe we are Master. We talk about water, which apparently is a figure of speech for merging the personalities. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. We do end up merging the 2 personalities, and somewhat saving Dog God in the process. What an ending to a great character. We shut off all the gas valves so we can open this door over here. We head back to the lobby, and are greeted by a few ghosts. Don't worry though, we make quick work of them at this point. The next person we need to take care of is my best pal, Dean Domino. We head inside the Tampico Theater, and this is probably one of the most important locations in the Sierra Madre when it comes to discovering the story behind it. We head into the room with the stage, take various partitures, which gives us an important key, and come across Dean, flaunting how he's safe backstage. Not if this key we literally just got has anything to say about that. We head backstage and enter Dean's dressing room. We find another key here, and we find a blackmail tape inside of this safe. I'm going to go ahead and let this tape play out, as this explains a good amount of lore behind the Madre and Dean himself.
Pretty as a picture.
Dean, I didn't hear you come in.
I'm not wearing my dancing shoes, so I walk a little softly now. What? You think I was Chinaman? Come to cut your American throat?
Dean, really?
What? No hug? Come here.
Dean, I'm getting ready.
You sing like a bird, pop the safe, and we're as through can be.
Dean, about tonight, I don't know.
You don't know. I ask one simple favor of you, and you tell me no.
I didn't say no. I just said that I don't think...
You're right, you don't think. I don't need you. I'll send you back to the farm, worse off than you were, because you'll have seen the Sierra Madre and had to let it all go. I could have gotten any leggy dame out of Hollywood to get out here and play Sinclair's heartstrings. You just happened to be the one I caught. And it was really your own fault, a little too much into the chems and meds and... shh, don't cry. Look, I'm not trying to hurt you. Just one last little job, a little less dirty, a little less messy. He trusts you, Vera. And so do I. After this, I promise you, all those other holotapes, they'll go away.
Of course, Dean.
Damn. Let me explain this a bit. You see, Vera Keyes was a Hollywood starlet that Frederick Sinclair, the owner of the Sierra Madre, fell in love with. Sinclair fell madly in love with her, in fact, and suddenly changed his motive of the casino. He wanted it to be a safe place for Vera when the bombs eventually dropped. However, Dean Domino, that son of a bitch, blackmailed Vera by using her chem habit against her. We soon learn later why she had this chem habit, as Vera had an illness where she used super stim packs and Med-X to control it. In this blackmail tape, Dean mentions all of those other holotapes, so who knows what else he had on Vera. Anyways, he used Vera, and Frederick's love and trust for her, to plan a heist to get into the Sierra Madre's vault. We learned this heist was figured out by Sinclair, and he was heartbroken that the person he made it a mission to keep safe inside of his passion project would betray him like this. The bombs eventually did drop, all hell went loose, and Vera and Sinclair ended up dying inside of the casino. We will come across their bodies later. That's the bit of lore I picked up on this playthrough. It's a really interesting story. If there's anything anyone wants to add, because there is so much to this dark and depressive story, be sure to add it in the comments below. Anyways, in order to get where Dean's at, we have to take Dean Domino's holotape of I Saw Her Yesterday and play it on this projector up here. This door finally opens and we initiate conversation with Dean. Since Dean doesn't trust us because we bartered with him when we first met him, we decide to press him more on the holotape. Dean will become hostile after we finish this conversation with him. Luckily, he's light work to take out. We now need to make a break for it and leave the theater, but I didn't want to forget the fourth dead man's hand card sitting on the floor right here. We rush out of the theater, and Dean's antics have finally come to an end. Dean Domino is no more. Father Elijah used his potato mic to spout words I couldn't understand at us, and we kill more ghosts that have broken into the Madre lobby. We now have just one more person to deal with, and this person is Christine. We head into the Madre's executive suites, and boy, this place is creepy. We hear Christine's voice for the first time, and it sounds eerily similar to a voice we have heard before.
In what looks like an old world hotel room.
In fact, we can hear this voice if we walk right down the hall.
The security systems won't let me out. They're keeping me here.
It's the voice of Vera Keyes herself. These Vera holograms are terrifying, as they're emitting Vera's last words before she died. It's insanely haunting hearing this on repeat. The Vera holograms act like regular ones. If they see you, they shoot you down. Here, I head into a bathroom, which somehow had this hologram's emitter inside of it. Talk about luck. This is no doubt my favorite part of Act 3, as the executive suites are pretty fun to explore and have a good amount of loot inside of them. On this terminal, we find an option to disable the speakers in the hallway, a download for a voice clip of Vera, which will come in handy later, and we learn how to craft a superheated cosmic knife. I attempted to do so here, as all the materials to craft it should be in this location, but I couldn't find the forceps. On this terminal here, we unlock the security closet, which leads us to some goodies and a Mark II version of the Sierra Madre security armor set. In this room, we come across another one of the Vera holograms. I easily snuck behind her and blasted her holographic emitter to smithereens. We ended up finding a room with a leaky valve and fixed it Ralph that bad boy right up. This opened up a security door shortcut, which was somewhat helpful, I guess. It is pretty easy to get lost in this place, so I constantly was looking at the local map for it, which actually gave the local map a use for me for once. Down the hall in this suitcase, we can find the scrounges of a very rich Sierra Madre citizen. We then find the doors to Vera's executive suite. Inside of the suite, we can create some stim packs using a chemistry set, and unlock a security door leading to the Sierra Madre vault. We'll be here shortly. Inside of Vera's safe here, we can find one of my favorite clothing pieces of Fallout New Vegas, Vera's outfit. If you have a girl courier, Vera's outfit is a lovely rose-colored dress. However, if you're a big brolic male courier like I am, then you basically get Dean Domino's suit, but with a touch of red undershirt. It's such a sick-looking suit, and it's a must-have for any wealthy and extravagant courier look. In this room here, we finally come across Christine, who has her voice back.
There's to talk. I'll keep this quick in case my...
Well, technically it's not her voice, but still, she has a voice now. A voice she didn't have for a majority of the DLC. Talking to Christine reveals her backstory, and that she was hunting down Father Elijah under orders from the Brotherhood of Steel. Elijah cut off Christine from someone she loved, who we actually learn is Veronica, a base game Fallout New Vegas companion. Talk about intertwining stories. Christine also reveals Elijah and herself have been to a place called The Big Empty. This foreshadows a future trip to there, which I can't wait to dive into on another episode of Honest Reviews. Christine also mentions a courier. Not us though, another one. But that's for another video. We don't want to lose our eyes on the prize. We need to get into the Sierra Madre vault. We also get told that Dean Domino put Christine in the auto dock at the medical clinic when we first found her. Dean altered her voice to sound exactly like Vera's, and that's the key to opening the vault. Since we treated Christine with care and we didn't send her down the elevator at the switching station, she won't turn hostile on us. Now, back on this chair, next to some Med-X and Super Stim packs, we can find the corpse of Vera herself. It's implied that she more than likely overdosed. She still has her dress on, and we can take another copy of it back home to the Mojave if we're feeling morbid. And usually I always am. We strip the skeleton of their precious clothing, and pick up the last card of the dead man's hand. Sadly, there is no achievement tied to collecting these 5 cards, just an in-game challenge. But as a reward for you guys, let me explain the hand in a bit more detail and some backstory on a time where that was the name of the DLC. The dead man's hand is referencing the myth of a poker hand of a man named Wild Bill Hickok, a man who was shot and killed in a saloon while apparently holding this poker hand. It is said that this hand consists of at least 2 black aces and 8s. However, the 5th card of the hand is said by some to be unknown. According to Ripley's Believe It or Not, the 5th card is said to be the Queen of Clubs, which Dead Money includes it in as well. The original and planned name for this New Vegas add-on was Dead Man's Hand, but the developers were unable to secure a license to use the name, so they ended up calling the expansion Dead Money instead. They still wanted to honor their original idea for the name of the DLC, so they added this challenge to it. It's a pretty cool story, and I think it's a welcome addition to this video. Using Vera's key, we can unlock this dresser next to her auto dock to find a tape for Vera's audition. Now that we've grabbed this, we need to head back to the lobby of the Sierra Madre before we can open the vault. Per usual, as we get back to the lobby, we get ambushed by some more ghost enemies. Elijah tells us to head to the terminal in the lobby to fragment Vera's music sequence together. But before we do that, we kill this ghost running endlessly into this corner of these walls. This Begin Again song by Vera Keys is the key to opening the vault. We splice up the message, we head back to the suites, and talk to Christine so she can speak into the intercom with her lovely impersonation of Vera. For some reason, Christine wasn't able to talk into the intercom and just walked away from it without doing anything. It really didn't matter in the end. We were still able to play Vera's voice from our Pip-Boy. And voila, we now have access to the vault. Begin again, and let go. I remember at the start of this video, I mentioned I would point out when this phrase is prominent within the story, but if you've been following, it's everywhere. The Sierra Madre itself is the best and biggest example of this phrase having meaning. I mean, this place was never meant to open after everything that we've learned. Anyone who has tried to break into it previously has failed. They've either ended up dead by the hands of Elijah or the casino itself. However, we're not going to begin again the way the DLC meant for us to do so. I'll touch more on that when we finally reach the actual vault. We can see a glimpse of the vault itself from this window, our mouths watering as we ponder about what could be inside. First though, we must run through the heavy security of the vault. There is an abundance of speakers here, almost all indestructible. Your best bet is running as fast as you can through some of these areas, even when you come across the many holograms guarding some terminals to unlock a security door. Remember when I mentioned that the mechanics of Dead Money became stale once you're near the end? Well, this is exactly what I was talking about. The use of holograms and speakers here just isn't as tasteful. I thought Act 2 had better usage of the mechanics the DLC added. I get why there's so much security here, as this is a vault, but the features and ways to circumnavigate these traps aren't really tactical in this situation. Like I said before, your best bet is running straight for what you need. This terminal where you have to click an option twice to actually disable a door's force field. You can try and destroy the randomly placed hologram emitters, which somewhat worked for me in the end, but this part felt like it was either make or break for it and spam stim packs, or trial and error through deaths and reloading. This is really the only big gripe I have with this DLC. It's very important I mention this now, as when we get to the review section, this may be the only thing holding down the DLC in its final rating. Right before we step near the vault, we have a master terminal here that can disable all of the vault's security measures. It'll be important we do this for later. We finally make it to the vault area. If we look around, we find a skeleton near the cloud on top of some pipes. When moving your cursor on top of the skeleton's labeled as the founder's remains, and the bag next to him is labeled as Sinclair's bag. This is the body of Frederick Sinclair. I don't know exactly what happened to him, but here he is. Dead. A skeleton. Just like Vera. Anyways, we use this terminal here to gain access to inside of the vault. As soon as we enter, we get shot from behind by some turrets, and the door closes on us. On this terminal right here, we can disable those turrets on the outside. On this table are a plethora of gold bars, which have a value of 1,000 caps each. This is the treasure of the Sierra Madre. Inside the gun cabinet, we can find a collection of armor sets and guns. Here we find a lone gold bar. I picked it up and realized that, holy shit, a single bar weighs 35 pounds. So, it seems like it's not possible to take all these gold bars home with us, further exemplifying the let go aspect of this DLC. On this terminal, we can come across messages Sinclair has left for Vera, if she were to ever break into the vault herself, or with Dean Domino. We learn a good amount of Sinclair's motives behind the casino after meeting Vera. In this message meant for Vera, Sinclair also notes that there's a message specifically made for Dean, and that if Vera is reading this, she should not click it, as it will lock the vault forever, returning the elevator to the vault up to the surface. Like the idiot I am, I still clicked through Sinclair's personal accounts, which made us able to read Sinclair's message to Dean. If the player does this, they're locked inside the casino forever, and an ending slide plays. Whoops. Anyways, if we just read the message to Vera and exit the terminal, Father Elijah himself appears on the screen in front of us. He claims the vault is his, and we're rightfully pissed at him for what he has put us through. We ask him to come down here like a stern mother telling their son to come down to eat dinner. But Elijah insists he can't for some reason. We do some convincing to get Father Elijah down here with a science skill and a repair skill of 75, and Elijah's Brotherhood of Steel instincts take over. Elijah says he's coming down. Finally, we'll meet this coward, face to face. Here's where we can decide Elijah's fate, which leads to receiving 2 different achievements. In order to get both achievements, you have to make a separate save, do one way, reload the save, and do it the other way. Here are the 2 options. The first way we can deal with Elijah is locking him inside of the vault, sneaking out while being undetected by him. On my first attempt, we failed. On my second attempt, he somehow detected me, ran away, and activated the vault's defenses. On my third attempt, I got so very close to glory, but ran into the magical barrier that decided to pop up even though I swear Elijah didn't see me that time. On my fourth attempt, I finally succeeded. Elijah is stuck in the vault, and we escape the Sierra Madre. For going this route, we get the 4th out of 5 achievements, Safety Deposit Box. However, this is not the way I wanted to go out. I came here for fortune and glory, and I'm going to leave with it. So, I take all the gold bars and loot what I wanted from the vault. This will easily over-encumber us. Remember those explosives we got from the police station? Well, we can use those to kill Elijah very quickly. This will take multiple tries to get right, but it was a process of trial and error, so bear with me. For our first attempt, we killed Elijah and received the 5th and final achievement for Dead Money, Cash Out. That is all the achievements Dead Money has to offer, and we have now gotten them all. In order for this to work, we need to have an intact corpse for Elijah, and we need to move it to this security field here. Now, we will attempt to use Elijah's corpse to hoard all of the gold and other loot onto his dead body. This was not easy to get right, as we have to be very quick when it comes to escaping the vault after killing Elijah. I tried, and tried, and tried really hard, and got so close. But finally, we did it. That might have been the most ass-clenching moment of my life. As the DLC tells you to begin again and let go, we spit in the face of that quote and take all of the gold bars home with us. So with that, we leave the Sierra Madre, never being able to return again, and we watch the ending slides. I won't show you all of the ending slides, as they all vary depending on what choices were made in the DLC, but just know the ending slides I got heavily foreshadows a future DLC and the events that will happen within it. We return to the abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker, right where we started the DLC, with this radio playing a new farewell message for us. Here in this Dropbox, every week, I don't know for sure, we receive a good amount of Sierra Madre chips to use on the vending machine here. Inside of this reinforced crate, we can find a copy of Father Elijah's robes in case you went with a sneak ending. It still allows you to obtain a copy of the robes. One cool thing I want to note is that the abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker can be used as a player home, which is very nice. With that being said, that's pretty much it, and we have reached the end of the Dead Money DLC. And boy, I have a lot to say about this one. Let's finally head into the review section of the video. When it comes to the Fallout New Vegas DLCs, I'll be basing my final rating on these 4 sections. 1. The gameplay. 2. The characters and story. 3. The environment and locations. And 4. The loot and gear. I decided to give awards to each rating themed to the DLC of Dead Money. The rating scale for this DLC will include the following. A bad rating will get the Dean Domino Award. An okay rating will get the Let Go Award. A solid rating will get the Cloud Residue Award. An amazing rating will get the Dog God Award. And a perfect rating will get the Dead Man's Hand Award. Let's go ahead and start reviewing. Dead Money is a unique expansion gameplay-wise. It takes what you've learned from the base game of Fallout New Vegas and flips that on its head, giving you a survival horror experience completely unique to the game and its engine. While this change of pace was welcome in my eyes, I can see why some people wouldn't enjoy this expansion as much as others. The DLC completely strips you of all of your gear, making you feel naked and afraid as you traverse the villa area of the Madre. It's a unique feeling, and a humbling one in fact. All you have with you are your skills and perks, which could be key on deciding whether you make it out of here alive or not. When it comes to Dead Money's gameplay, the only gripe I have with it is the longevity of it. The mechanics the DLC adds are really cool at first, and it gives you multiple options on how you want to take on certain situations. For example, with holograms you could reroute their routes, completely sneak past them, search and destroy their emitters, or just run as fast as you can past them and hide. The speakers were a cool addition, and required you to tread your ground lightly constantly throughout the DLC, putting you on edge that your head might get blown off if you take some wrong steps. However, as we got into the last act of the DLC, I found these mechanics to be a chore to deal with, rather than being tactical, as tactical just wasn't practical in this situation. Still, for a majority of the DLC, these additions were unique and nice inclusion to the survival horror-esque sequence. I'll give the gameplay of Dead Money an amazing rating. The story of Dead Money is what many love from the DLC, and I'm in the same boat. As you dive deeper into the DLC's lore over the Sierra Madre and the Villa area, you learn there's so much to these areas. It felt exciting to learn something new about the place, as this is a place of legends and myths. Also, being able to be a part of a heist as big as this one felt energizing. Inserting yourself and experiencing a place that not many Wastelanders will ever see in their lives adds this special factor to everything. The 3 recruits and companions have solid stories and endings depending on what you decide to do with them. Dog God was a nice addition to the friendly super mutants and Nightkin followers, and his story of trying to overcome his split personality disorder was very captivating. Dean Domino was a carefully crafted character, as this man had a carefully crafted plan to break into the Sierra Madre vault with Vera back before the bombs even dropped. He has a lot of history in this place, and being able to come face to face with him in his ghoulified state makes you realize, even though he was a celebrity before the bombs fell, he's just a hollow and vengeful version of himself, still attempting to break into the vault after so many years, all because his ego was challenged by Frederick Sinclair. Christine was a nice addition, as she helps build up hype revolving the other DLCs and an intertwining story of them all, that leads into the culmination of Lonesome Road. Even with my minor complaints about Christine and her lack of expressions, she still plays her role, and that's all she really needs to do. There are already a good amount of interesting characters from this DLC that her role is acceptable for me. Father Elijah is an interesting antagonist, as he acts all helpful and nice, mainly because he just wants to break into the vault. It's a surprise to come face the screen with him at the start of the DLC, knowing he simply vanished after the NCR's attack on Helios 1, and seeing him here just makes that first encounter with him eerily confirming. Overall, the story of Dead Money is honestly flawless, and I can't think of a single gripe I have with it. It's a haunting tale of a pre-war luxury that was meant to be forgotten. As the DLC says, the hardest part is not getting to it, but letting it go. I have to give the characters and story a perfect rating, as this is no doubt my favorite aspect of this DLC. The environment of Dead Money is another standout of the DLC for me. The Sierra Madre is haunting to explore. Taking inspiration from a Casablanca-styled town, the worn-down structures and the blood-red skies of the Madre makes you feel like you're in a horror game. The cloud mechanic also adds to this factor, as it's a hazard in itself that gives off creepy and thought-provoking vibes. Knowing this cloud came from the Big NT, it makes you wonder, how was it made? What in the world is it? And how did it get released through the Madre? These are all questions that can be answered through some terminal exploring, which the DLC has plenty of. The fact that this environment and atmosphere was made as perfect as it could be on the New Vegas engine still boggles my mind a bit. I personally think it's the black sheep of the New Vegas DLCs. It's just such a unique environment that no other DLC tries to recreate. Exploring the casino area is really intriguing. Some sections felt short-lived, like a casino's Casa Madrid section, but it felt like every area you can explore in a casino does its job. The casino itself is barren, empty, and lifeless until you turn the power on, and yet it still feels barren and empty with a life to it. This was never meant to be a place any random wastelander could explore. This casino was meant to be frozen in time. That's what it felt like exploring the place. It felt like I was never supposed to see the Madre. I enjoyed exploring the Tampico Theater and Executive Suites, and while traversing through the vault section felt stale and longing due to the excessive and more than frequent use of the DLC's mechanics, I still enjoyed the idea of pulling off a big heist by rushing through the vault. I can't complain much about the uniqueness and enjoyment I got out of exploring the Sierra Madre and its locations. I give the environment and locations a perfect rating. While the loot and gear is minimal throughout the DLC, unless you scavenged like the pack rat and picked up anything you had your eyes on, it's definitely worth the while. There's a good amount of unique armor, guns, vending machine codes, and more to find throughout the Madre. The hollow rifle given to you at the start of the DLC can be upgraded as you progress through the DLC, and it's overall one of the coolest weapons the DLC adds. I'd like to mention the Sierra Madre vending machines, as I think that's a really cool idea. It adds into the story of the Madre itself by making it seem self-sufficient, and the fact that you can buy certain things here using the chips you found on the ground provides balance between the DLC and your survivability. Of course, for other weapons, there's the bear trap fists, the knife spears, the cosmic knives, and more, and all of these weapons are cool in themselves, but I never found myself using them outside of the Madre when I got all of my gear back. I still use the hollow rifle here and there, as it's just such a hard-hitting energy weapon, but I just ended up putting a lot of these items on display at the Lucky 38. Still, the armor and clothing you get from this DLC rocks. Even the generic and basic Dead Money jumpsuit is so cool to me. I enjoy wearing Dean Domino's suit as well as Vare's clothing to gamble in casinos, as they are both extravagant, and they just speak wealth the second you put them on. I also like the design of the Sierra Madre security armor. It may just be a recolor of regular security armor, but the Mark II set provides good defense in itself. And it looks great. After all, cosmetics is more important in a role-playing game, right? The assassin suit is also cool looking. However, we'll be seeing a very more important version of it in a future DLC. I also enjoyed collecting the Sierra Madre playing cards scrounged all across the Madre, including the Dead Man's Hand set, as that story has always intrigued me. The ultimate payoff in the vault, the gold bars, sends a message to the player. You may not be able to take all of the bars, unless you use Elijah's corpse as a desk drawer for them, but you can still take some of them and sell them back at the wasteland for some riches. But letting go. That's what they show you. Let go of the loot. You can't take it all, even if you hypothetically can. It's a nice theme present throughout the whole story that it bleeds into the loot aspect of the mod, something that takes very clever writing and planning to do so. I give the loot and gear section an amazing rating. Overall, Dead Money is one of my favorite DLC expansions of all time, and that's no easy feat for being one that I've played so recently. It may not be my favorite from Fallout New Vegas, but we'll get to that one later. But dang, it's close. Dead Money overall receives an amazing rating. It may not be perfect, but it's hard to be perfect when I'm honestly reviewing something. Thank you guys for watching my first installment of the Honest Review series. For future plans, be on the lookout for the rest of the New Vegas DLCs, and possibly other topics that aren't video games being reviewed. This is Ace, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And as always, peace out.